Now, here's an interesting one. Ron, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say, but I love Chris too. Does your community have boundary markers? And if so, what are they? And if not, why don't you have them? So, are there boundaries? And I'm not talking like electric fences.
Yeah, we really don't. We believe that it's very part of it's just self-protection, defense, self-defense. We believe that it's very hard to stomp out a swarm of bees with a shotgun. And so that the swarm of bees has no boundary to speak of. And without boundaries, things can go wrong, terribly wrong. But because it's just one little piece of the whole, it's kind of like you have a big spider web and a fly flies in here and messes up the spider web, gets loose and flies out. So you got some false teachers or somebody's, selling drugs in church or something, because that's happened. But because that's only in one little corner of the spider web, and the people right around that person kind of either act like a spider and wrap this person up with, in a cocoon or drop them off or something, the rest of the spider web is still intact. So there's a safety factor, whereas with a pyramid, if you have like a hierarchical structure and one of the basic foundation blocks, like a pastor or something, goofs up, oh my goodness, the whole community, the whole denomination is up in arms and falling apart, and people are leaving God and all sorts of things. So I forget the question.
Thank you. The question is the boundary.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
No, I mean that's why I pick the image of a boundary rather than a foundation that you stand on, because there's a boundary. The boundaries flex and move, and sometimes
we do have something that's in the process of forming, and that's an apostolic team of some sort. We call them port apostles because they just kind of
port apostles.
Yeah. And we haven't decided exactly who these people are, but there'll be people that maybe have particular gifts that are acknowledged, and as they arise and connect with each other, they're like major nodes. If you think of a big web, like the World Wide Web or something, certain websites like Google, Yahoo, become nodes. Everybody's going to these nodes. And there's some certain people that we're finding out are nodes. They may be a node in the area of evangelism or teaching or something.
Node.
N-O-D-E.
Not gnomes. Nodes.
That's right, nodes. And so these nodes, these congregating points within the network, within Simple Church Network, as we start to connect with each other, then that begins to create something. I don't know whether to call it a boundary or not, but I think that may evolve. I hope it doesn't evolve too far and become too complex, like a denomination. We have no hope of doing that, but evolve into something that will give a degree of safety when things happen in terms of assisting churches. We love to see churches just die when it's time for them to die. And so that's kind of I don't know if it's a boundary or not, but
I mean that goes into a boundary. Yeah. It's time to let go. Let go.
And we don't kill them necessarily, but
I could help.
Yeah.
What are the boundaries you guys see?
Well, I think for us, it's, again, you got to learn the context. Is an urban setting. I would say a majority of the folks that come and do mission year have never been to a city, like maybe visited or something, but they've never lived in the urban setting. And so, what's that?
Into there be dragons.
Yeah, and so it's completely foreign. And also, people that come to us have never lived in community, and so a lot of everything that they were getting ready to embrace is absolutely different. And so, like I talked about, a lot of the patterns of life are things that, and for me, like when I'm city directing, I tell folks I do a few more extra rules that maybe some of the other cities don't do, and it's very intentional. But I'm very open with why do I do the things that I do. Because like I said, I'm very rebellious at heart. You give me a rule, I'll find a way around it. And so like what I've done is some of the structure and things that we do is I tell them, you know what, these are sort of the bones that make us this year, but you've got to be the guts that breathe the life into it. And so there's simple things like it's interesting. Like this is a very cell phone oriented society, and it's attached, you know. And one of the things that I do is like we have sort of a 6-week period. First 6 weeks that they're here, they're getting involved in the community, they're getting involved in the neighborhood and all this, and it's really kind of a time for them to say, hey, you know, I changed my mind. This is lame, you know, and they can leave, no questions asked. But then we have like a commissioning service where a real commitment time where they're saying, yeah, I want to do this for the year. But one of the things I do, like for that first 6 weeks, is I say no cell phones, except they have like a Sabbath that's built in, and it's a day where they don't. It's on Monday. They don't do anything. They just hang out. They just chill out. They can read. They can do whatever. But for me, I say, don't use a cell phone at all that first 6 weeks except for the Sabbath. And for some, it becomes like, are you kidding me? You know, like, are you crazy? You know, and I'm like, yes. But what I do is, and the reason is because they're in this new environment with these new people. And so often as they have new things happen, new situations, maybe a hard situation, the first thing they do is they get on their cell phones and they call home to friends or maybe to their family, and they debrief it. Or maybe they have an issue, you know, and mom or dad back home try to give them a solution, but they're totally divorced from the context. They don't know what a city's like, and they especially don't know what Philly is like or Camden's like. And so what I try to do is say, hey, look, you know, what we're going to do is the reasoning behind this is you need to first, like, like we said, it's an intentional community. You need to turn inward, you know, to your community. Rely on them. You know, they may call me up and say, man, I'm really missing mom and dad. I'm like, give them a call. You know, like right in the middle of the week. It's not Sabbath. Who cares? Give them a call. So it's not like, it's definitely flex. It's not, you know, a pharisaical kind of thing. But it's very intentional to say, hey, look, here's the idea. Here's the vision behind it. It's not just these dumb rules, because I break rules, like I said, but if you embrace these things as an adult, like what you're doing is you're making these decisions, say, yeah, I'm committed to trying to basically detox from individualism, and that's what I really teach is we're so individualistic to be able to detox from that. And then as the year goes on, like usually my cities have the least rules of any other place, because you're expected as an adult to say, what is the vision that you have for your neighborhood? What is the vision you have for your community? And as you do that, like what are the patterns of life that you set? Initially, they've never done that, so we set a lot of patterns, but there's some flex as we go along the year for them to begin to develop new patterns of life that might help them, you know, help them jive in the neighborhood in a better way.
So you guys give them boundaries, and then you let them kind of nudge them one direction or another, just to
be more organic to where they're at and who they are, things like that. But a lot of it, you know, like the Simple Way or whatever community, like we may have 5 or 6 of us who get together. We all know each other. That's going to look different. Then you have 5 or 6 random people from all over the place who come to live in intentional community. If you just say, all right, go, they're going to be like, what do we do now? You know?
They call for us, the real world.
Yeah, and so for us, what we do is we try to give them a pattern of life to kind of get into, get adjusted to the city life, get adjusted to community life. And then with that, like as they grow and as they begin, you know, embracing some of these different issues that come up, they're able to tweak them a little bit, and each community looks a little different by the end of the year.
Well, let me ask another question. I wasn't in the list. Do you think you can have an intentional community that doesn't have any kind of boundary marker?
Sure, I think that's. I think you can, and I think like with us is the Simple Way. Early on, in its early days, like we didn't have a whole lot of structure, and for us, it became very difficult. Like as I look back, I didn't really know a lot of the folks in the community,
right?
And it was really out of a time. I mean, because it grew from like 7 to 14. You know, really fast. And so like, and it wasn't until we had some folks from the outside help us restructure. And eventually what happened was we ended up developing for us the onion structure, you know.
Right.
And what that is it's a healthy way. It wasn't really a healthy way for people to come into the community or leave the community. I mean, there's people there going like, all right, I'm here, but am I really part of the Simple Way? Or am I just here for a few months? Like there wasn't really a clear defining thing. So for us as an intentional community, I felt like it was really important to know like, what are you know, what's your journey in, what's your out, what's your expectations and things
so,
like
I mean,
that.
you guys started with none, but then you kind of, Simple Way needed it. Or
right, to function. Yeah.
Another answer for us in terms of boundaries maybe that we use, just read the Bible and tell stories as a way of creating a framework that people can hang their lives on. We really encourage immersion in Scripture, and I mean, give me the right to share a metaphor or a story, a framing story of some kind, and I don't care if I go to the. I don't care if I go to the. I don't care if I go to the board meeting or not. Hi, hon. Can I?
You're doing your
Are
Rudy
you- do you
Giuliani
need something?
impression.
Debbie? She hung up on me. But that's like the framework of a house. You know, you put the framework up, and then you got something to build a house around, or, you know, within. And the stories we tell each other can do that.